What is going on, everybody, and welcome to this exclusive video feed for you, the all access members at patreon.com/RyanKidPro. I, of course, am Mr. Excitement here for episode 10 of the XSite update here at patreon.com/RyanKidPro, the official Ryan Kid Pro Patreon page. I want to give a huge shout out and a thank you. You are tuning into the video feed here today. We've got a lot to cover. Of course, Dickie Meyer is not here in the studio. Once we get started, we'll kind of dive into what that means and when we're going to be able to get his episode done. But again, we do have a lot to cover here on the All Access feed. Again, we're going to be here a little bit before and a little bit after the episode to give you updates that the common folk can't quite hear. Again, this is just for you, the All Access member at patreon.com/RyanKidPro. So again, we've got a lot to dive into. Today we are going to talk about the unfortunate passing of Jason Strife. We are going to cover the second half of the 420 Brothers episode that we started last week and fill you in on some updates for the new year, recap the New Year's holiday, and so much more. So without any further ado, let's get us started here on episode 10 of the XSite update. That begins in 3, 2, and 1. Let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of the XSite Update podcast. My name is Mr. Excitement, Ryan Kidd, and I am your host today at patreon.com/RyanKidPro, the official Ryan Kid Pro Patreon page. And as always, this episode, like every other episode, is sponsored by RyanKidPro.com. This is your one-stop shop for all Mr. Excitement merchandise, news, updates, info, and more. That's RyanKidPro.com. We've got a lot to dive into this week as we are here in studio live for episode 10. Unfortunately, as you can see, Dickie Meyer is not in the studio again this week. So it seems like we've got an ongoing battle of cat and mouse between myself and Dickie. No, not really. Unfortunately, if you listened to last week's episode, I was down with a cold. Fortunately, I've come through on the other side of that in shining colors, so I'm feeling a whole lot better. Was ready to have Dickie in the studio, but due to current circumstances in my life and in the wrestling world, I figured it would be better allotted to do next week. Hopefully, if we can get him in here and make schedules work out, we will have Dickie to talk about the Iron Will Challenge and everything that made that happen, made the wheels turn to get to that location. But what we're talking about today is the second half of the 420 Brothers episode from last week's episode. We're going to continue and finish out that story of Excalibur and Kamikaze, the Baja California-based tag team. However, we've got some unfortunate news that I'd like to cover in the beginning portion of the show. And this is kind of the main reason why we won't be having Dickie in. I wanted to focus a large portion of the show here this week to dedicate and honor and focus, memorialize, if you will, the life and career of Nathan Blodgett, otherwise known to many as Jason Strife. He has unfortunately passed away over the holiday week, and it's been really tough. When I got the news last Friday that he had taken his final breaths over the course of Thursday night, I was a mess. I was a wreck. And even to this day, it's difficult for me to talk about. I want to use this platform to be transparent with my fans, and I also want to use this platform to be transparent with myself and to be able to, confront tough issues and to be able to confront things that I don't necessarily want to confront or talk about. But some things, much like this, is just a part of life. So, my heart, my condolences, my prayers, my thoughts, all that energy is going towards the family of Nathan, his brother, his mom, his dad, his loved ones. I can't even begin to, fathom or imagine what they're going through over the course of this week. A silver lining being that all of his GoFundMe goals regarding his memorial, his services, and his family moving forward were met. And that's one positive takeaway from what's otherwise just an incredibly tragic and terrible story. Jason was one of my best true authentic friends in professional wrestling. He had stuck his neck out for me and given me an opportunity when nobody else would. We went into detail on that on a previous episode, and we found out he was going through some of his latest health struggles, hoping that he would make it through on the other end all right. And unfortunately, that just isn't the cards that were dealt. I take solace knowing that he's not suffering and not struggling, but I miss my friend, and it's been an incredibly hard week to um, mourn and to really take in and process the fact that someone that had such an infectious smile and such an infectious demeanor and attitude and passion is no longer here with us. And again, I'm struggling with that, and I know a lot of friends, family, loved ones, students, trainees, friends. They're without someone that was huge and influential and really impactful on their life, and I'm one of those people as well. So it's been incredibly hard. Um, but again, that's just life, and it's how it works out. Not entirely the way I hope to have started the new year, but again, this is so far removed from being about me. The impact on his family members and the people in his immediate area. Man, my heart just goes out to those people because if I think I'm struggling, I just can't even begin to imagine and fathom what those people are going through. So again, this episode and the entire week's worth of content and basically everything is in memory and in dedication and in honor of Jason because he honored me at a point in my career where nobody needed to or should have, and I'll do the same in honoring him in what I do. So that's the reason that I didn't want to have Dickie in this week. I wanted to be able to focus and mourn and be able to have my attention in the right places and talking about the Iron Will Challenge just so many days removed from this tragedy, it just wouldn't have been the best episode. So again, wanting to be transparent, I'm not going to make up some bogus excuse as to why Dickie's not here. I had to postpone, and we will be doing that, and Dickie will be in the studio as promised for an episode regarding the Iron Will Challenge. But again, with just all that's going on, I didn't feel that this week was the right time to do that. But again, we've got plenty more to cover, and I don't want the entire episode to focus on something terrible that's taken place in my personal life and in the wrestling community. But I would be remiss not to bring up and to honor and to dedicate some time to Jason. And I don't feel bad for that at all. He was one of my best friends in the business. So um, I'm happy I'm able to keep it together here to talk about what we've got to talk about. I'm happy to keep it together to talk about Jason, but man, it's been incredibly hard, and his memorial services are going to be taking place a week from this weekend. So over the course of the 13th and the 14th in the Midwest area, Omaha, Nebraska, Council Bluffs, Iowa area, they'll be doing the visitation and subsequently the funeral for Jason. Again, what a terrible moment, and if we can take a quick 10 seconds of silence to think about the career, the life, the man, most importantly, the man. I mean, the wrestling is so secondary, the type of person that Nathan was. And I don't think that should be forgotten along with his wrestling career. So, again, if we can take 10 seconds, that would be much appreciated to remember the life and times of Jason Strife, Nathan Blodgett. Thank you all for that. You have no idea what that means to me. Just so sad. But we're not going to let that damper the mood of the episode. We've got a lot to cover. There's a lot of positive going on in the world of Ryan Kidd. And again, I know Jason, being the consummate pro that he was and the creative person that he was and the wrestler that he was, a lot of this information, a lot of this news, a lot of the things I do was inspired by him. Sponsorships and promotion and really getting out there and being creative and going outside of the bubble. So, again, as I want to honor him and the things that I do moving forward, a lot of this is not to brush over him, but it's to redirect my focus and keep me positively headed in the right direction. But also, this is some of the projects that were initially inspired by Jason. So again, I want to continue to have him in my thoughts, but I don't want the entire episode to be about his death because we've talked about his career in a previous episode, and there's really not much more to it than to report, unfortunately, what has taken place. Again, we've tried to link the GoFundMe and all of the updates to the comment section here on previous episodes. So if you'd like to follow more on that story as far as what's next in that world, please feel free, and we'll give you the resources to do that. But moving on, we'll talk about what was a moderately somber New Year's holiday because of the news that had taken place over the start of the weekend. But I was able to have some fun with friends. It was a space that I wasn't quite sure I was ready to be in, considering all that had taken place, and I was really in a rough spot over the course of the weekend. But being able to go out and spend some time with friends and being able to talk to family members and being able to talk to really close friends and sponsors, it was a reassuring time for me to be around people that I trust and to be around people that care about me and that love me. So it was a moderately chill New Year's, not too crazy, not too much drinking, but certainly a lot of fellowship and camaraderie, and that was a much needed time kind of away from the grueling aspect of personal life over the course of the weekend. So it was a fun new year, and we are officially here in 2023. We are kicking things off with the first podcast of the month as promised. We had an episode last week that was a quick update in the studio in spite of having Dickie Mayer. Unfortunately, or more fortunately, depending on how you look at it, this episode is going to be a bit of the same. We'll stick to about the same time constraints as usual, just about an hour over or under. However, we have a lot going on in 2023. If you haven't kept up to date on all social platforms, that's at Ryan Kidd Pro on all social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You've seen that we are fully locked and loaded for the Interstellar Tour, the first quarter tour for the first 3 months of the 2023 wrestling season. And we are off and running. We've got promotional material going out on social media daily. And I said last week that we are going to be updating, that we are going to be changing, that we are going to be technologically upgrading. And that's exactly what we're doing. So take a look at all Ryan Kidd's social media throughout the month of January and into the first quarter, because we have a lot of new, cool, fun, unique, and innovative stuff headed your way for free. That's all digital content through the Ryan Kidd social media platforms. So check that out. We've already started upgrading and updating all the things we're doing, whether that's sound quality to video quality to everything in between, the wrestling quality. Things are getting better in the world of Ryan Kidd. You can also keep up to the official Ryan Kidd Pro Patreon page. I've been posting updates on my physical progress, this coinciding with the full-time live event schedule that I'll be fulfilling in the first quarter. So again, I've got a lot cooking in the new year. I'm motivated, I'm excited, I'm ready to get in the ring and to perform for fans around the world. And that goes down this month, January, and the entire first quarter through the Interstellar Tour. Speaking of the new year, you want to make sure you're subscribed to patreon.com/Ryan Kidd Pro. I know you are because you're listening to this or watching this, the all access feed or the regular feed of the XSite update. But what we've got going on at Patreon this month, we've talked about it in the past. The Patreon privilege is officially instilled. We are shipping out never before seen, never before printed 8x10 autograph photos, autographed by myself, shipped out by hand, packaged by hand here in the studio. And we are excited to have that. We've got some new subscribers coming in. We are very excited for that. And again, every month throughout the year of 2023, we will have a brand new merchandise item sent to you for free, along with your subscription benefits through the official Ryan Kidd Pro Patreon page. So enough of the plugs, enough of the sadness. Let's get on to today's topic, which is part 2 of the 420 brothers, Excalibur and Kamikaze, the Mexicali, Baja California-based Lucha Libre tag team, who I think have a world of potential, and in my mind have only just started their journey in the world of professional wrestling. As we've seen in the past year or so, the Lucha Libre scene is blowing up in the United States. And if history tells me anything, I feel that sooner rather than later, we'll be seeing the 420 brothers on a grand stage here in the United States. But before they get there, let's travel back to 2017 and continue our journey. If you followed through on last week's episode of the XSite Update, episode 9, you'll know that we talked up until the infamous hair versus hair match, myself versus Excalibur, that took place at Arena Nacionalista in April of 2017. I'm sorry, 2016. And moving through the year 2016, following that match, as I had mentioned, I had just a couple days between my tour of Japan and my tour of Europe that I had filled with the weekend's worth of dates, including the hair versus hair match. So as soon as I finished my hair versus hair match, I'm off to London, England. And a sidebar about that, and it's another episode for another time. Upon arriving in London, England, with what would have been long locks of long hair, shoulder length at least, I showed up there with a shaved head, and that impacted my British tour incredibly so. Little did I know that the promoter was cosmetically curious, to say the least, and he did not like my new look with the shaved head. He hated it, in fact. And in my mind, I'm not sure, but to this day, I have a strong belief that that led to the controversy of me being dropped off that tour subsequently, and a whole can of worms that followed that. But needless to say, the impact of the hair versus hair match was felt for years after the match. Taking you behind the curtain, I only got paid half of what I was promised for the hair versus hair match. So, of course, doing negotiations and working out a deal, once I've lost the match and the promoter has to pay for me having been humiliated in front of a live audience and having my head shaved and the honor and the dishonor that comes with being degraded in front of the live crowd, I was only met with half my money. And being in a foreign country, not knowing the language at the time, I didn't really have much recourse. I was promised that it would be deposited to me later. However, knowing that just hours later I would be on a flight to another foreign country, I pretty much knew that I wouldn't be seeing that money anytime soon. That story does come full circle in that just a few years ago, during the 2020 pandemic, the promoter reached out to me, asked if I remembered him. I said, yes, I do. You owe me money. So thankfully, he was able to make things right. He paid me, but it wasn't until about 5 or 6 years later. So I was certainly bitter about that, to say the least. Even hopping on the plane to Europe, I knew, again, that money was just about as good as gone. And I was not happy about that, to say the least. But again, with little recourse aside from physical assault, there was basically very little I could have done at the time. So I hop on the flight, not happy about kind of just how things went, and seriously taking all character BS out of it, and just shooting straight. It really was a lot more humiliating than I thought to have gotten my head shaved in front of the crowd. I mean, like seriously, it took a toll. In a weird way, because I don't hold myself to a high standard, or it wasn't really that big of a deal, seriously, for me to have cut my long hair. I've never really had my hair too long in the past, so having it cut really wasn't too much of an issue, I had thought, in the beginning process of it. But after having, I guess, the fallout of not getting paid and then subsequently getting dropped from the European tour for what I believe was reasons pertaining to the haircut, it was hard. It was a hard pill to swallow, and it was something that took a toll on me for a minute throughout the beginning stages of that European tour. But I was able to persevere. Obviously, life goes on, hair grows back as it did. And I had spent that time, just about 6 months, from London to Holland to Germany and everywhere in between, on that European tour, owning my craft, training with the best of the best from around the world, and being able to perform on stages that really built my confidence for my ultimate return at the end of the year in 2016. So going into the new year, 2017, not only have I performed on these large stages in Mexico, along with kind of the experience that was built on my repertoire by working with Kamikaze and Excalibur for that long period of time in a foreign country, and getting my legs under me to work a different style and to kind of reestablish myself into the foreign scene. And that led to ultimately this Japanese and European excursion in the year 2016. So coming back into the United States and into the Western wrestling scene in 2017, it was hit the ground running type of moment. It was something where I knew I wanted to hold myself in a higher light, and I wanted to continue to train with the best, and I wanted to hold myself to a high standard. So as soon as I got back, I started picking up some of the top matches that I could possibly have. Among that, shortly into the start of the year, just 2 weeks in, on January 14th, 2017, I win a three-way match with Dirty Doug and Ricky Mandel, Lucha Underground superstar at the time, for the Golden State Championship at SoCal Pro Wrestling. So this is one of the first singles championships that I've held, moreover, for my home promotion in San Diego through SoCal Pro Wrestling. So again, this experience is paying off. Some of these opportunities performing on these larger platforms are starting to pay off, and I'm starting to pick up championship gold. And because of the way things worked at the time with my involvement in SoCal Pro, I was eager to spread the brand name, and I was eager to get out and not only to promote myself as the SoCal Pro Golden State Champion, but I wanted to promote SoCal Pro as a whole. I wanted to start expanding the company into the international market. I wanted the Mexican fans in Mexicali and in Baja California to start to integrate themselves into the storylines through SoCal Pro Wrestling. So I started to brainstorm, and I started to get in contact with the various promoters in Mexicali and with the owner of SoCal Pro Wrestling, Jeff, and we collaborated on working something out where SoCal Pro would sponsor a Golden State Championship match, and they would sanction a championship match that would give the opportunity for two talents in Mexicali to potentially win the SoCal Pro Golden State Championship, defend the SoCal Pro Golden State Championship across the border on an international platform, or given the talent that was ended up being chosen, Scalibur and Kamikaze, because they didn't have visas, what dynamic would that have changed potentially for the SoCal Pro fans to have to follow that title in Mexico? So again, it was one of these things where I figured we'd be able to bleed together and integrate the two fan bases internationally together, where they would end up having to follow both of these products. If they wanted to watch the Golden State Champion, then they would have to watch them in Mexico. Or if the Mexican fans wanted to see someone, an international star rooted in the community like myself, defend a title that they were familiar with, they would have to go and check out SoCal Pro, be that on YouTube, be that live, be that on demand. However they wanted to do it, I knew that if you bled together, I figured if you bled together these fan bases, that again, we'd be able to not only share talent, but we'd be able to share fans. And through that, the pot just gets bigger. So in the beginning stages of that, that was the idea. Promote a match, just one match in Mexico, where we would be able to promote SoCal Pro Wrestling, and we'd be able to get the championship held on a light that was a higher pedestal than it was being held, which was at the time none. There was no standard. None of the championships in Southern California, SoCal Pro, moreover, for that matter, had been defended internationally. They weren't world titles. So aside from promoting them with other fans, this broadens the prestige of the championship. The Golden State World Championship now, as of February 24th, was now a world title. It was an international title. So I'm sorry, let me correct the date. February 12th, 2017, I make my way to Mexicali, Mexico, Arena Nacionalista, for another sold-out event. Those fans in Mexicali are rabid, they're passionate, they really love their wrestling, and when it's promoted right, they'll come out in droves. So again, another packed house, another big match. This time, both of the 420 brothers on opposite sides of not only each other, but on opposite sides of myself in the ring, with huge stakes in that the International Golden State Championship is on the line. And while I already had future scheduled defenses at home, quote unquote, so to speak, through SoCal Pro, I was scheduled to wrestle Douglas James in a match that's now heralded and highly viewed online. But again, the concept being, if I were to have lost the championship there, then Douglas James would have had to have either traveled to Mexico to take on the winner of that match, or the winner of that match would have had to apply for an international visa to take on Douglas James in the United States. So there was a lot of moving factors, and hopefully it built intrigue to, the fans wanting to follow along. So we have this huge match, and we put it up online on both YouTube channels for the fans to be able to see it. And it was a great contest. Again, it was a time for me to be able to come back from my international excursions and really be able to apply my craft and apply some of the tricks that I had learned across the pond. And in doing so, I picked up the win, a successful defense for myself. So again, all of the what ifs as far as international and visas, it was not really an issue because at the end of the day, I walked out with the W. I picked up the victory, and in doing that, made the SoCal Pro Golden State Championship not only more prestigious, but a world championship in the process. Hopefully, built some new fans. And again, the idea and the concept of bleeding and integrating those two fan bases together didn't entirely go as far as I would have liked to have, primarily just because it was my passion project. It was something that I saw the value in. I was one of those wrestlers that was going over to Mexicali on a full time basis, and it did work out for SoCal Pro. We ended up being in a brand battle, a battle of promotions type event where we wrestled the Santino Bros team, myself, Judiz, Dirty Doug representing SoCal Pro. We picked up a big victory there. So a lot did come from it, but I don't know what I was expecting to run anniversary events in both markets, and I was expecting to do a 2-night SoCal Pro show, one of them being in Mexico, one of them being in Oceanside or Vista. And there was a lot of potential for what could have been. Didn't happen. Who's to say it can't happen in the future? But that was a time where I was really passionate about building prestige and really applying what I had learned internationally. So, in doing so, I spent a fair amount of time in 2017 continuing to travel and continuing to go around to different parts of the world. And because of the schedule starting to get so busy and so hectic, I really wasn't in Mexicali too frequently throughout the course of 2017, or at least less frequently than I had been in the past. However, on September 9th, I make my return, and with a familiar foe this time, I find myself on the same team when myself and Kamikaze take on the scheduled team of Jonathan and Galactico, a tag match that ultimately would be turned on the day of the show into a 6-man tag team match. Same guys, added participants, and it was another hard hitting, high flying contest, this time for the first time being on the same side as Kamikaze, someone I had worked with so much. It was an interesting aspect, interesting take on such a familiar opponent and being able to kind of work together. It felt like we gelled well in that tag match, picked up the victory, and again, not too much came from it just because of my full time schedule elsewhere. But it was nice to get back integrated into the Mexicali scene, have a match alongside a former foe, and kind of start a new chapter, if you will, in Mexicali. This time not being against the fan favorites, this time being alongside the fan favorites. So it was kind of a changing of the guard, or a changing, again, a flip of the page from my time in Mexicali as the way I was perceived, from being this foreign loudmouth chicken shit heel now to starting to be someone that has earned the respect of the local crowd. Continuing to earn the respect of the Mexican crowd and continuing to again integrate myself into the foreign world and the foreign market, 2017 had ups, downs, twists, and turns, and by the end of the year, I was ready for a change. So, following the 2017 Iron Will Challenge, which again we'll go into tons of detail on in the next episode as Dickie Meyer joins us in studio, but immediately following that event, that was literally the last day for myself in the United States for the remainder of the year, it seemed, as I moved myself from San Diego, California to Mexico City, the heart of Lucha Libre in Mexico. So think New York City, think San Francisco. This is the epicenter of the country of Mexico. It's one of the most largely populated cities in the entire world. And now here I am, fully integrated into the Lucha Libre scene, the authentic Lucha Libre scene, not a border town. This is as deep into Mexico as you really can get or want to get if you're looking for the largest platform in Mexico. Again, another episode for another time. Tons of stories, tons of wackiness that took place during that 2017 excursion into Mexico City, training with CMLL at Arena Mexico. But coming back for the holidays, I had 1 week during the Christmas break in 2017 that I would come back and spend Christmas with my family. During that time, I was able to work out a date with a new company out of the Baja area, Local Wrestlers. This essentially was a take on what RLI left in the wake, what Arena Nacionalista, what LPF had left in their wake, and now Local Wrestlers was running their own independent local wrestling events, go figure, out of the Arena Nacionalista in Mexicali, Mexico. So again, coming back into the local scene, coming back home, so to speak, it was a no-brainer that I would be a part of this new project alongside, no, quite frankly, my friends. Kamikaze, Excalibur, Flyboy, these guys were spearheading this project and were starting to bring wrestling, high impact, independent wrestling back to Mexicali on a full time basis. So smaller shows they were because they didn't focus on a grand scale lucha libre name. This literally was self-titled local wrestling. This was all of the Mexicali talent and some of the homegrown talent getting together and putting together some of the best matches they could for the diehard fans of Mexicali. So on December 17th, I make my way back to the western area of the United States and more specifically the Baja California area of Mexico when I take on Flyboy and Scalibur, essentially the three figureheads of local wrestlers at the time, myself, Flyboy, and Scalibur, in a three-way match, and it was incredible. It was really a time for me to be able to, like I've been saying, and kind of the overarching theme of this episode has been plying my craft and really being given an opportunity to show what I can do where other places really hadn't given me that opportunity yet, or schedules didn't line up, or matches didn't line up, or opponents didn't quite line up. However, it worked out. There was a chemistry in Mexicali that I was getting, whether it was working with Scalibur and Kamikaze or not, because a lot of these projects involved them or working with guys that worked with them. So again, this community was so tight knit that it was an opportunity for me to really, really get into my comfort zone and get into a groove and fall into a position with the fans that I was established, and it was something that hadn't really been done in my career from my perspective yet, being so new and being so young and still being a trainee in so many aspects. It was really an opportunity for me to kind of get comfortable, plant roots, and start to show a crowd what I can do and more. Get comfortable, being comfortable enough with that crowd to try new things and to go out of the box and to be creative. That's what I was being given with these guys and with working with Scalibur, working with Kamikaze. So again, whenever they had a new project, it was a no-brainer that I would want to be a part of it, and I knew that once I was a part of it, I would be able to get the most out of my minutes and the most out of my opportunity. So again, another really fun match with local wrestlers, and they continue to work on that project throughout the year. I had a ton of really fun and high impact matches, not all of them with Scalibur and Kamikaze, so we won't go into too much detail. But really look at that early 2018 run and that end of 2017 run when local wrestlers was getting going, and it was some hard hitting stuff, and it was some high impact stuff. So as I finish my 2017 and as I wrap up my excursion to Mexico City, make my way back home to San Diego in the year 2018, things were at a point where I had come back from Mexico City, and this time I was a bit more selective with what I was trying to do. I felt like by this point, traveling the world, multiple tours of Mexico, multiple tours of just different areas around the world that really no one else had done. It was a time where I got a bit complacent and I started to kind of doubt myself or wonder what the next step was. And should I change up my look? And I started to gain a bit of weight, and as I start to get older, and it wasn't a bad thing, not getting fat or anything. It was just I wasn't the spry 18 and 19-year-old boy that I was in the past. So again, life just starting to catch up, and things are starting to change, and a personal life as I've now graduated high school and the pressures of life and paying bills and getting things together and moving out and moving back in and traveling the country and juggling relationships and friendships. There was a lot going on, and it's a lot for a young man to deal with, or at least it was for me at the time. So during the start of 2018, as I got back from Mexico, I felt lost. I didn't really know what was next and if I wanted to keep doing this and how I wanted to do it, if I wanted to keep doing it. And a real turning point for me was on February 24th now, getting the date correct as we move into 2018. February 24th at a sold out Gimnasio Municipality in Mexicali. So the municipal gym in Mexicali. This place is huge, probably 5 to 10,000 seats in the place. And it was sold to the brim. I know Mystico, who's a huge Lucha Libre legend, was one of the top draws on the card. So it must have been a stacked card because either way, there was a ton of people. Probably the most I've ever seen at a live event in Mexicali that I've ever performed on at the time. And the match for the night was myself teaming with the 420 brothers, the first time ever that we made a trio together on the same side as local hometown heroes representing Mexicali. We literally were Team Mexicali, despite the fact that I was from San Diego and I've never spent a full-time schedule in Mexicali. So being really integrated and ingrained in the fan base was validating for me, and more so by having such a killer match when we take on the team of Archangel Divino, Ultimo Maldito, and Mirage representing Tijuana. So having that dynamic alone, the Mexicali versus Tijuana dynamic, is something that the Baja California fans just eat up. It's like sports, or it's like, I don't want to say gangs, but it's really you're representing your territory, you're representing your turf. And whenever they get into a match where it's us versus them or our area versus theirs, they really, really bite into that. So we had the crowd for that reason. But again, being in the ring with five other just incredibly talented athletes, Archangel Divino and Ultimo Maldito have such an incredible story, being lucha street performers from the age of 6 or 7 years old and working their way up into literally the big leagues, the biggest leagues of all in Lucha Libre. Through that is incredible. If you haven't seen their stuff, I'll try to link a clip to it. It is one of those Ripley's Believe It or Not type deals. And they as a team taking on the team of Scalibur and Kamikaze, who again are just some of the most naturally gifted athletes in the entire world, better yet, Baja California. And being on the same team as them, and again, whatever skills I brought to the table, paled in comparison to them. But again, being in that same light as those five other guys was huge, and we just tore the house down. Again, we talked about the principle or the concept of respect in lucha libre when the fans throw literally their hard-earned money into the ring as a sign of respect for a good performance. They filled the ring with money on this night. It was a great match just from start to finish. We really, really had the crowd in the palm of our hand. And it seriously was one of the most rewarding experiences of my entire career in Mexico and in Mexicali specifically. A funny story about that match, and I'll try to link a short clip to it as we go picture in picture here. During the match, there's a funny spot where you wouldn't know anything went wrong. And when you watch it in real time, you go, wow, that is damned impressive. Let me tell you this, I was scared shitless when I did it because it was not supposed to take place in the way that it took place. So let me break it down. In the past, I've done a comeback maneuver where two partners whip me into the corner. One hits me in the corner and he drops to his knees, that giving the opportunity for his partner to follow in with another strike, but with more momentum jumping off of his partner's back on all fours, almost like a leapfrog or a piggyback for them to jump off the step and then collide with me in the corner. I, however, have adapted a strategy once that takes place, when it rarely does, as the opponent is running to jump off of their tag team partner's back, I will jump off their back instead and catch them with a move of my own. Now, with a tag team of three, that gets a little bit trickier. So what I figured I would do would be to walk across both men on hands and knees, two men, to get to the third. Miscommunication City, as one drops to his knees, the other bends over. So now, instead of being 1 or 2 feet high, he's 4 feet high, bent over. So I have to walk up the stairs, first the guy who's on all fours, then off the guy who's just simply bent over before I can get to the third man. So as I see the setup starting to take place, I'm thinking, no, it's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong. You don't have it, you don't have it. And clock's ticking, and it's time, and the third man is starting to make his way towards me, and it's now or never. It's I gotta do it, and I figure I'll just give it a shot and go down swinging. And what do you know? I nailed it. I nailed it. Never in my life could I do it again. Never in my life have I done it before. And I promise you, that was the absolute luck of the wrestling gods there, because that turned out to be one of the most incredible maneuvers I've ever done in my entire career. Hands down, bar none. I don't care what anybody says. The difficulty level on that was at least an 8 to a 9, because seriously, it was not supposed to go that way. The fact that it did was bad enough. However, the fact that I was able to cover it up, seriously, I'm going to break my arm patting myself on the back for that one, because that, again, one of the coolest moves in my entire career. So that will certainly be a clip as we clip an excerpt for the podcast here, episode 10, and we will have some video to coincide with that. So you can take a look at, again, one of my personal favorite maneuvers that I've ever luckily been able to pull off in the wrestling ring. Again, incredible match, Gimnasio Municipal de Mexicali, Ryan Kidd and the 420 Brothers versus Lucha Solos and Mirage. 2018 continues. However, now with a new promotion, we started to talk about the frequency of how, and it speaks volumes to how hot and to how ready the Mexicali area is for good pro wrestling. Because come 2018, it doesn't take long for another promotion independently to start up running out of the Arena Nacionalista, the home for Lucha Libre in Mexicali, Mexico. Lucha Libre Internacional is another spawn off of what LPF left, what RLI left, what local wrestlers left, an opportunity to give the local fans of Mexicali good independent pro wrestling. That's exactly what they set out to do with a handful of cards over the year 2018 and 2019, one of which found myself on again the opposite side of the ring of the 420 brothers. So for the first time in a long time, just about 2 years, I find myself in the ring against not only Excalibur, but Kamikaze and Genio del Aire, as well as a six-man tag team match took place. Team Mexico versus Team USA, myself, Andy Brown, and Fidel Bravo, representing the United States, made the trek over to Mexicali to take on the team once again of Genio del Aire and the 420 brothers. I can recall this match being a bit short. I'm not sure why. High impact, fast paced. Maybe that just kind of supplements a quick match, but I can remember it being just about 10 minutes, and it was good. It was high impact, again, fast paced. Not a huge crowd there that night, but a good match for what I remember. Nothing too, no highlighted moments, no forgotten finishes, no messed up stair sets. But a good match, and again, another opportunity for me to get in front of the Mexicali crowd with established opponents and being able to kind of reconvene that chemistry that myself and Excalibur and myself and Kamikaze had over the years. And the year 2018 continues. Again, not too much involvement with Excalibur and Kamikaze, as here we've turned the page, and again, now we are either friendly opponents, respectful opponents, or finding ourselves on the same ends of the team. So again, the feud has died down, but the competition is not. The comfort level is only growing, and now the desire to compete with other talent in Mexicali after having taken the training wheels off, so to speak, and working with the two guys that I'm comfortable with, now being able to work with other talent, work in different regions, work and train in different areas of larger parts and larger platforms in the country. All of that was again supplemented by getting comfortable working with these guys. And as we move into 2019, I really found my groove this year. We kicked the year off hot as January 20th, Arena Nacionalista, I pick up a huge monument in my career, the first singles championship I've ever won internationally, that being Mexicali, Baja California, Rey del Aire Championship. That's the King of the Air, think cruiserweight, light heavyweight, junior heavyweight championship tier. I picked that up in a six-man ladder match, again at Arena Nacionalista. That match involving talent like Kamikaze, Principe, Galaxy, Matrix, Platino, and myself. Hard-hitting match. Footage does exist. And again, for the first time in my entire career, I was able to walk away with international wrestling gold. So again, another huge moment for me in my career, supplemented by Kamikaze. So being in the ring with him, if I'm not mistaken, he was the former champion. So him dropping the championship to me, so to speak, was another huge moment in my career that I couldn't have done without these guys. And again, six different international talents, and you've got ladders, and you've got weapons, and you've got just a lot of moving parts in that match. There was a lot to take in, but again, most important thing that I was able to take in was that championship. So, funny little fact, I hold on to that title to this day. It's alongside my SoCal Pro Tag Team Championship right now, currently. And who knows when the next time I'll be able to defend it is. That is on the brass in Mexicali. So again, once I had taken the title, and now they've given me the opportunity, they've given me that platform. To me, it was a turning point in that, okay, now the leverage and the power lies with the champion, and it lies with me. So where it was always usually on me, the desire to get out to Mexicali and to get to that place and to get to that platform and that position in the company. Once I was there, truthfully, it felt like they didn't really know what was next, and that they don't know what's next. And there's been a few attempts over the last couple years since I've won this championship to get me in the ring to defend it, but it's always fallen through, and it's not on my end. It's not something where I'm ducking, or I don't want to lose the title, or I don't want to defend the title. It's just a matter of how business is taking place. So again, I hope to rectify that in the upcoming year. but we're just going to have to see how things work out. So again, I'm still the Raydell Lightweight champion going on 3 or 4 years now. So happy to continue that reign, but again, I'd be even more happy to defend the title, to get in front of the Mexicali crowd once again and be able to show them who the true king of the air is. The year goes on as 2019, one of the busiest years of my entire career. Full-time schedule. I continue doing a lot of work in Mexico. Again, unfortunately, just because of the way championship politics and championship business has played out, it was a long time before I returned to Mexicali, and subsequently, it was a minute before I got in the ring with the 420 brothers, and it takes place at the end of the year, November 18th of 2019. Myself, Dinamico, and Tiago take on the team of the 420 brothers and Jonathan in another six-man tag team match. This time main eventing an event at the Gimnasio Municipal of Tecate. So now, again, this feud is continuing into other regions of Mexico. We're main eventing different platforms. We're main eventing different events in different areas. And again, this is just something where we've taken this road before, and this is a path well traveled for myself and the 420 brothers. So again, getting in the ring on opposite sides of them, it was like we never missed a step. We picked up immediately. The chemistry was there. The competitive respect was there. And again, another hard-fought, fast-paced, high-flying match in Tecate, and it was a great time. And it was the last time that I've wrestled in Tecate since then. Again, the COVID-19 pandemic that followed immediately after that, shortly, just a few months later, put a hindrance into a lot of things, but it didn't hinder everything, and it didn't hinder me getting in the ring once again with Kamikaze and Excalibur. However, again, things are just different. Time goes on. The entire year of the pandemic saw myself not in any parts of Mexico. I was doing a lot of work here in San Diego, working on my own training, working on my own promotions and things like that. So 2019, the end of 2019, 2020, and 2021, 2022, our time together in ring has minimalized. However, our interactions haven't stopped completely. In 2021, Kamikaze and Thunder Kid took on myself, Ryan Kidd, and Tempestad Guerrera Jr. September 16th, 2021. So it was a fair amount of time that had passed, most considerably the COVID-19 2020 pandemic, before I was in the ring once again with Kamikaze, my old foe, this time for the CWE Cali Wrestling Entertainment promotion that had been started during the pandemic to offer fans digital wrestling. If you want to know who spearheaded and who figureheaded that project, look no further than Kamikaze and Excalibur. Again, very similar to myself, those men have a passion for their local pro wrestling. And when COVID wiped out what would have been an entire year's worth of shows, they found a way to safely record and publicize their matches during the pandemic for fans to be able to continue to interact with their favorite Baja California-based pro wrestlers. So in 2021, once things started to pick up for them as far as the live event business was able to be concerned, they had me out, and that tag team match was a great time. I was able to bring Anthony Idol with me, and he got himself on the show as well. So it was good being able to have a traveling partner I can remember, and again having another fun, competitive, fast-paced match with talent that I've got chemistry with, that I'm friends with, and that again I can't really have a bad match with. Who's to say that they're all great? But again, having fun and being safe and entertaining the crowd is something that I always do in the ring with Kamikaze, and what I always do in the ring with Excalibur. So again, another valuable moment there in 2021. Our last moment together in the ring, myself and Kamikaze, one-on-one, so to speak, takes place in 2022 at the start of the year with the Crash Lucha Libre. So if you're noticing here too, the platforms and the stages that we're competing on, first starting out at LPF, a promotion that doesn't exist anymore that you haven't heard of, now moving on to promotions like the Crash Lucha Libre and AAA Lucha Libre and main eventing at sold out stadiums and having these bigger matches. It's fun to see the story play out. Here, as I've done the research on the episode, it's really been surreal to take a look back and really see how far we've come. Not only myself, but the 420 brothers and them working on their respective projects, starting up their own promotions, supplying their local wrestling fan base with content. It really is impressive to see how much we each have done respectively and what we've done together in the ring, building on this feud that started so many years ago. And it continues here in the Crash. We've got a multi-man match for the Copa de Crash, a trophy including talent like Lanzer, Mirage, Terra Azteca, Kamikaze, and myself. I can recall that being, again, a wild and chaotic match. The Crash is one of the most hectic promotions in the entire scene in Lucha Libre. They always sell out. They always draw a huge crowd at the Municipal Auditorium of Tijuana. And again, another huge opportunity for me to interact on a grand scale with someone that I've got that chemistry with in Kamikaze. And it was a great time, great match. Unfortunately, neither of us picked up the victory in that one, but I can take a little solace knowing that he didn't walk away with the trophy. And I'm sure he takes a little solace in knowing that I didn't either. We close out the year and subsequently the episode and the feud, the second half of my feud and my interactions with the 420 brothers, Scalibur and Kamikaze, on November 12th, an event that had recently taken place again at the sold out Auditorio Municipal de Tijuana Fausto Gutierrez for Triple A Lucha Libre. So it's fitting that we cap off the feud on top of the biggest platform in Lucha Libre at all in Mexico. So AAA Lucha Libre is again the largest touring promotion in the country, and we are now a part of that, myself and the 420 brothers. The team of Ryan Kidd and Jew Diz took on the team of Scalibur and Kamikaze, the team of Fantastic and Ryo Star, and the team of the Tijuana representatives of Mirage and Black Danger. So again, a 4-team contest of myself and the 420 brothers once again interacting. Lots of chaos. There's a lot of different participants. I really didn't get to interact too much with the 420 brothers in this match. However, considering that we were on opposite sides of the ring, I figured it was important to know. So with that being said, that wraps up the feud with the 420 brothers. They are online on all social media. Give them a follow. That's Scalibur and Kamikaze. They are, again, some of the most talented Baja California-based pro wrestlers in the entire world. So I would strongly recommend checking out their footage, saying that Ryan Kidd sent you, and giving them a follow online. With that being said, we're going to wrap up episode 10 here this week. We've got a ton in store for you. In 2 weeks, we hope to have Dickie Meyer in studio for episode 11. If not, we will keep you updated on who our special guests will be. But I can promise you this, it will not be a Ryan Kidd solo show as we present to you episode 11. Again, most presumably, the Iron Will Challenge with Dickie Meyer. I want to thank you all once again for tuning in, liking, subscribing, and following the official Ryan Kidd Pro Patreon page, patreon.com/Ryan Kidd Pro. Again, I am online at all social media at Ryan Kidd Pro. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Again, subscribe to the official Ryan Kidd YouTube channel where you can find clips of this podcast, free matches, promos, and more. That's the official Ryan Kidd Pro YouTube channel. Thank you all for tuning in this week. My name is Mr. Excitement Ryan Kidd. This has been episode 10 of the XSite Update, and we will see you soon. Thank you. Take care. Love you. Have a good one. Well, that has been episode 10. We are all caught up. We are all updated on the 420 Brothers episode. I'm happy to bring that one to a close. Those guys are some of my best friends. I will send them a link to this. If they can hear it, then cool. If not, then hopefully they know that their legacy was done as good of justice as I possibly could have done it. I'm sure there's plenty more in their career that they would like to cover. There's plenty of highlights. There's plenty of things that have gone on in their personal lives and in their career. But from my perspective, my in-ring time with them, I covered as much as I could. All the matches, all the in-ring time, all the behind the scenes, and so much more. Continuing on behind the scenes, you are an All Access member tuning into the secret ending of episode 10. We've got a special update. That is the month of February. The Interstellar Tour continues. AAA Lucha Libre on February 10th. That's all I'm going to say right now. We've got a lot coming in that regard. And another huge year, 2023. It's going to be a big one. I hope you are tuning in and staying tuned because it's coming your way quicker than you think. We've got daily content coming every day at patreon.com/Ryan Kidd Pro. And we are working on the blog, 152 premium newsletter. This week's episode will be dedicated to Jason Strife, so we'll have some matches of myself and Jason. We'll have some never-before-seen photo for myself and Jason, and all the usual content that you have grown to love and expect at the official Ryan Kidd Pro premium newsletter. Thank you all for tuning in. This has been the all access video feed of episode 10 of the XSite Update. I'll see you in 2 weeks with episode 11, Dickie Mayer and the Iron Mill Challenge.